It's been a little bit since I've done any article related videos, and that's because recently there hasn't been many articles that I've been interested in or thought were important on making videos about. But I am back with one today, and this is actually an article from September 30th, so it is a couple days old, but I do think there is a lot of interesting topics of discussion here. This article is written by Humberto Gonzalez, which, if you are familiar with my channel, a lot of the stuff that I report on or I talk about does come from him. Sometimes he is good with reliable information, and I do believe he knows his way around the Warner Brothers world. So with that being said, what this article is mainly about is it's the discussion of what is going on within Warner Brothers right now. Ever since Warner Brothers was bought by Discovery and David Zaslav has moved in, it's been slippery. It's been 50-50. Some people are really liking what's going on and a lot of people aren't. Especially if you're a DC fan, there are a lot of people who hate what he's doing. And it's very weird because for me as a DC fan, I love what he's been doing. I like the fact that he's been canceling a lot of projects and he's not moving forward with what I have believed to be useless projects. Just as any company will go through when being bought out by another company, there is going to be a lot of turnover. There's going to be a lot of change. There's going to be so many things under the sun that are just going to look completely different, especially if you are a worker within that particular company. Things can't be changed overnight. I know in a world we live in where things come to us directly, like instantly on the go, we want Zaslav and Discovery to move into Warner Brothers and to change things for the better right off the bat. But unfortunately, in businesses and especially worlds like that, it is just not going to happen. We cannot have overnight change. And let's be honest here, people who want to talk about how Warner Brothers is a mess because of Discovery and Zaslav, I'll just say right now, Warner Brothers has been a mess long before Zaslav and Discovery. Everywhere from how they handle their brand, from how they handle their directors and producers, from how they handle movie releases, from how they handle their original IP. This is all on the previous management of Warner Brothers, and to fix a mess like this is going to be very difficult. Now, I'm going to read this entire article, or at least 90% of it, and after every section, I'll talk a little bit about it and give my thoughts about it. I'm sure there are going to be things that I agree with, things I disagree with, things I may disagree but also understand at the same time. So let's get into it and see what it has to say. Running DC films could be the sexiest job in Hollywood. Comic book fans were ecstatic when new Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav declared his commitment to finding a Kevin Feige type leader to take the reins of DC Warner Brothers with an ambitious 10-year plan. And for the right person, the job offers the chance to shape beloved characters like Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. And to that credit, Zaslav did mention in that report meeting that they wanted to put more emphasis on the trinity of heroes, the Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman characters. He wants those characters to be the top dogs of all fiction when it comes to the superhero world, and I couldn't agree more with that statement. I know we're in the first paragraph, but before I move on, I do want to say that this 10-year commitment sounds gorgeous. It sounds amazing, it sounds like a ton of fun, and it sounds like something all of us DC fans would love to have. Whereas I am excited by that announcement, whereas I'm excited about the fact that he wants to do that, I also got to take into consideration, and I think we all got to take this into consideration, that it is just words. It is just icing on top of this grand cake that they haven't even really baked yet. It's just this idea that we can have a 10-year commitment. It's to get people invested, to get people excited and interested. There is still no guarantee that that is the direction we're heading, but you might as well state that that is your interest before you even get started, because you need the majority of people to say, oh my god, awesome. So after several months of searching, why has no one emerged to take the position? Franchise film producer Dan Lin recently turned down the job after talks with Zaslav fell apart. Studio representatives say Lin wasn't the candidate and the others are in the mix. Well, I can only assume that finding the next Feige is going to be one of the most difficult things in the world, because you don't just find Feige. Feige comes to you. Feige just happens. It's a 1 in a million, if not a billion trillion chance. And I'm glad that Dan Lin is actually not taking the job, considering the things he had to say about Zack Snyder, talking about how the Snyder movement was empowered by bots. It's garbage. It's a stupid narrative, and whoever tried to push that narrative is ridiculous. 87% genuine feedback and 13% of them were bots. 87 to 13% is a massive range. I don't know where these people got this idea from a bot movement, but hey, you know what? Whatever helps you sleep at night. So far, no other contender has emerged to lead a division that has seen 3 regime changes in only 5 years. Greg Silverman, Jeff Johns, and John Berg, followed soon by Walter Hamada, and a particularly turbulent up and down run with both comic book fans and general audiences. Given all the challenges at DC and its parent company, many Hollywood insiders suggest that the real question may be, why would anyone want the job in the first place? It's a very narrow group of people who can run and effectively get DC films back on track while handling the creative business and, let's be frank, the political minefields that come within the job, one top Hollywood producer told The Wrap. So now let's head into the specifics of why someone might not want this job, why someone may want this job, and where Zaslav and Warner Brothers find themselves currently. So the first one that is offered to us by Humberto Gonzalez is an unknown future slate. After pledging to make DC into a rival of Disney Marvel Studios, Zaslav scrapped the nearly completed $90 million spin-off Batgirl, delayed the Aquaman sequel release by 9 months to December 2023, and are currently dealing with an already shot spin-off of The Flash as its star, Ezra Miller, faces multiple allegations of physical assault and even child grooming. And once again, for the record, you will never hear me back up the Batgirl film. I think it was the right choice to cancel that movie. I don't think that movie was going to be good at all. I think the movie would have somehow made the CW look like a gold mine, so very good call on that. The new DC boss will have to deal with the hits and misses as the current DC slate rolls, and over the next 2 years, The Flash is an interesting situation as the film is supposed to reset the DC timeline going forward. The new DC boss might have a plan of his own, but they will be tied by the threads created in the movie, which will dictate how the new slate will move forward. Additionally, the film might be marketed without its troubled leading actor Miller, who was profiled recently in Vanity Fair and is currently undergoing therapy for their self-admitted complex mental health issues. Everything going on with Ezra Miller right now is window dressing. They're all trying to make it look like it's okay. There's been a mess. We're trying to clean it up. He's trying to clean it up. Nah, bruh. This thing is a lot worse than it appears to be on the media. They just can't really tell you. I think 100% this will be the last time we ever see Ezra Miller in the character, and I still think he's even lucky if we do get to see him in this character, because Zaslav is, of course, ruthless. He could, at the end of the day, be like, nah, see ya, Flash. Who knows? Number 2, a micromanaging CEO. David Zaslav's hands-on management style as CEO of the newly merged Warner Brothers Discovery isn't winning over fans, according to numerous industry insiders. It's widely been reported that Zaslav likes to start early and have meetings at 7 a.m. One top agent who spoke to The Wrap says 7 a.m. calls are par for the course and will be expected of anybody who takes on the job. Random calls are what famously led to Lorenzo di Bonaventura departure as head of Warner Brothers, a top agent said. Then again, that was 2002. Times were much different. DC wasn't as much of an importance. There were other things going on in Warner Brothers at the time. Very different situation here. We're talking 20 years ago. So unless there's a very specific reason why that situation connects to what Zaslav is doing right now, I don't really understand why that's important. Zaslav isn't the only stakeholder to keep happy. You're not getting them from just someone like Zaslav, the agent said. Talent like a James Wan, Todd Phillips, etc. would also constantly call. Ooh, cry me a river. Already this does not sound bad. This sounds like people who actually care. But also the intervention of Zaslav might be particularly challenging for any new DC boss, since all of the candidates whose names have been floated, including Lin, have far more experience with big screen theatrical releases than Zaslav, whose entire career has been spent in broadcast and cable TV. Why would Dan Lin want to take the job? DC is a huge priority for Zaslav, but who wants to come on board and lead a film division that's already canceled a film that was ready to go and have a micromanaging CEO, said one producer who works with Warner Brothers. Okay, a couple things I want to say on this one. As for this micromanaging situation that is being described of David Zaslav, I understand. I don't think there is anybody on planet Earth who likes to be micromanaged. Even if you are a specific person who finds yourself the most productive while being micromanaged somehow, I'm sure in your own way, you hate the micromanagement attitude of it all. And again, I don't work there. This is just an opinion I might have. Warner Brothers is such a mismanaged studio and production company. At the end of the day, who was micromanaging in the first place under the previous management? What was the previous management doing to make themselves a better company, to compete with all these other production studios like Disney, Marvel, Universal, and so on? Maybe a lot of these people in the background are misconstruing micromanagement to actual work. People who actually now have to make the company better and make good products and make their fans happy. And now they're thinking to themselves, I can't sit at my desk on my phone all day. I actually now need to take calls from the CEO of our company. I actually need to make movies. I actually need to read good scripts sent in by people. I actually need to do things. Maybe there is some misinformation here that you're not actually being micromanaged. You're actually being asked to do your job. And that could be a big reason why David Zaslav is kicking a lot of these bums out of this company, because they haven't been doing their job. So we need to find a fine line between what is actually meant by doing your job and what is actually meant by being a micromanager. Once again, maybe he is a micromanager, but a lot of what I'm hearing are just a lot of people who don't want to work. And let's just take it from a certain perspective that maybe Zaslav is not being a micromanager. I'll take this job. I'll do it. Do you know how many of us fans would want to take on the production of a DC universe? I would love to. If anyone from Warner Brothers right now is watching this video, I don't care how little views or subscribers I might have, you go watch my stuff. You'll see how much I love this IP. I will take this job. I will do it. There are so many people like me who watch me make their own content, who talk about DC on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, you name it, who would love this job and who could do it because we all have the passion for these characters and this world. And I love this. Who wants to come on board and lead a film division that's already canceled a film that was ready to go? Trust me, the cancellation of Batgirl is not going to be something that's going to deter me for wanting to produce a DC live action cinematic universe. Hell, I would have made that move if I was in charge of DC. Half of these movies right now that are apparently being planned would already be canned because we have to start fresh. We have to start from a specific point without wasting time on these other projects that are just not gonna go anywhere. On the internet's biggest video site in history, I'm putting my name into the ring to lead the DC universe. Probably will never watch this, but it's still there. Tyrell Myers, I'm in for it. Number 3, the Kevin Feige comparisons. Zaslav has done himself no favors in how he's framed the position. Last month, telling investors on an earnings call that the company's restructuring centered on creating a team with a 10-year plan focusing just on DC, similar to the structure that Alan Horn and Bob Iger put together very effectively with Kevin Feige at Disney, referring to Marvel President Feige. The problem is, one studio insider told The Wrap, a Kevin doesn't just appear. Exactly what I said at the beginning of the video. It's true. You can't just handpick a Kevin Feige and be like, it's gonna be just as good as what Marvel has done. Hey, I'm not a big fan of Marvel. I think most of what Marvel does is actually very lackluster. Although what I will say, Kevin Feige has done something that no one has really done in history, and he's been able to create this 12, 13, almost 15 year long series of Marvel movies that all connect together. And the crazy thing is that it's actually been fluent with one another and they're still going with it. So much credit has to go to him, and you can't just handpick that. Hell, as much as I would love this job, as much as I wish I had the voice to scream at them and say, hey, I'll do it, I don't know if I would even be able to do this. I might fail. It's hard to know. No one knows if they could actually do this job properly. And even if you think you know, you won't truly know until you get started. Feige will arguably go down as one of the best producers in film history. He will probably be top 3, top 5, if not potentially number 1. And finding that for DC is either impossible or slim to none. Who knows who it could be? It could be someone like you watching me right now. It could be someone within their building currently. It could be someone who's not born yet. It could be me. It could be my mother just below me 2 floors. I don't know what the answer is, but looking for a Kevin Feige might be the wrong way to do it. You might just have to take a chance on someone who has a true passion. They might not even be like a Kevin Feige. They might not be able to develop that world like Kevin Feige has done, but you got to start somewhere and you got to try something. Number 4, creative autonomy. Anyone hired for the DC role is likely to face many more constraints, both creatively and financially, at least until they can establish a track record for success. According to insiders, Zaslav holds the green light power for movies, and whoever steps into the DC role won't have the latitude that Feige has at Disney. While Zaslav aspires to turn DC into a vertical, one insider said the notion that a DC boss would have any creative or financial control of the division's content is a pipe dream. Warner's will never give autonomy like that to one person. If those statements are true, we gotta fix this. You cannot be begging for a Kevin Feige. You can't be begging for someone to take over the world of DC and not give them the creative freedom to develop the stories that they believe need to be developed to drive DC into a new world of a connected universe. That's like saying, hey, here's your brand new car, go ahead and drive it, but as you're driving it, I'm going to make sure that in the passenger seat, I create extra pedals for myself to ease on the brakes or gas up the car if you're not doing it properly. And also too, I'm going to give myself a steering wheel. You know what? I might as well just take the driver's seat from you and you can sit in the passenger seat while you watch me. In some instances, I understand you really can't trust Warner Brothers and maybe some people within the studio to create a DC universe, but at the same time, there has to be someone out there, someone that you can trust and someone you think can actually put a good vision on paper to screen. I'm going to skip number 5 as it does deal more about other production studios. If you do want to read the article for yourself though, I will put the link in the description below. Number 6, Warner already has a comic expert in its stable. Until Zaslav finds his unicorn, according to the Warner Insider, newly installed studio CEOs Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdy will run DC as part of their purview. And DeLuca has experience in the comic space. He developed the Marvel's Blade franchise in the late 90s when he was an exec at New Line, and even tried to get Iron Man made until the studio's option on the character lapsed. That's led some in Hollywood to question the need for Warner to seek out its own Kevin-like executive at all. DeLuca knows comics, he knows films. They already have what they need, the second producer said. But according to the Warner Insider, DeLuca and Abdy only have greenlit authority on projects with budgets under $35 million, which limits their ability to reshape the DC film landscape without the buy-in of Zaslav. Well, there's a possibility maybe Michael DeLuca does know what he's doing. Maybe he would have an interest in being an overall header of the DC universe. Although, once again, just because you've worked on superhero films doesn't mean you know how to make an overall world. I could direct and produce and write the best superhero film of all time, but that doesn't mean I would still know how to fit that into a 10-20 year plan. I'm also going to be skipping subheadings 7 and 8. Once again, if you want to read them for yourself, go to the description below, it'll be there. Number 9, a fan base of very vocal trolls. While Feige is universally beloved by Marvel fans, the revolving door of executives who have led DC over the last decade have faced a far darker, more vocal community of diehards. The Twitter cult that called for the 2021 restoration of director Zack Snyder's abandoned cut of the 2017 big screen flop, The Justice League, or Justice League, harassed Warner executives for the filmmaker to be given creative control. And they can be as relentless in their troll-like behavior, even going as far as to harass the children of execs and death threats, as outgoing DC boss Walter Hamada recently experienced, according to a recent Rolling Stone report on Snyder's Twitter cult. Anyone will try to make Zack Snyder look like the villain for all of this. It's not as if Zack Snyder sits here and preys on weak-minded people and says, hey, go attack Warner Brothers executives for me. This is not his problem. It's not his fault that stupid people like this do that stuff. And don't for a second tell me that DC fans are worse than anybody out there. You know who's worse than DC fans? Star Wars fans. They're awful. They're terrible. They're the worst community out there. Even Marvel fans are getting bad. Every community has their own rotten eggs. But I love how a lot of these articles always try to paint that the bad side of DC is people who support Zack Snyder. The narrative is so stupid. It's ridiculous. And not for 1 second am I saying death threats are the way to go. If you're sending death threats, you're a complete moron who should lose all access to internet capabilities and anything to do with modern day life. But I also will say it is Warner Brothers' fault for doing what they did to Zack Snyder and for making a lot of people mad. You don't secretly edit people's films behind their back and release a more lackluster version of the movie. This is also a group of people in the previous management of Warner Brothers who did not even support their creators. They thought they could do it on their own. For the last time, what has happened to DC is not Zack Snyder's fault. This is Warner Brothers' fault. You don't need to like Zack Snyder's vision, but for God's sake, at least the guy knew where he wanted to go with it, and at least he had a story. There is no conversation to be had there. Argue with yourself. There is no debate. There's a lot to pack out in this video, and I don't want to rehash everything I've said because I've stopped in between to, of course, give my thoughts on this, and now I want to hear from you. But who knows, guys? Maybe Warner Brothers is almost cursed. Maybe they're not meant to have the DC label anymore. Maybe they simply just can't get it done. Maybe it needs to be auctioned and sold off to another company that can do so. Maybe they do just need to take a chance on someone and give them the reins. Maybe David Zaslav isn't a good CEO. I still have a little bit of hope in what he's trying to do over there, but maybe it isn't good. Maybe people are overreacting about him. Maybe these so-called producers that we keep getting statements of, as we have no name or what projects they might be working on, who knows how accurate that information is. Maybe they don't want to work. Maybe there are micromanagement issues. Who knows? The Warner Brothers brand has been tainted for quite some time, and it still feels like there is a lot of work to be done in that studio. But as for now, I have said what I said, and I think I have talked far enough. Let me know in the comments below what you think about all of this and what you think needs to be done. But just like that, everyone, that's all I got for you on this one. And until next time, I will talk to you all very soon.